What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Saved by the Code, where I talk about all things cryptocurrency. Got an absolute juice-filled episode for you today. The good news is just flying out from all orifices of the news machine, of the news organism, and man, oh man, are things so bullish. It's just palpable. I had to pick and choose the stories. I couldn't do them all. I just had to pick some of the ones that I thought were the most newsworthy. Yeah, like and subscribe if you like the content, and let's just get straight into it. The market is also a roaring today. We got coins pumping in the double digits, some of the higher market cap coins, altcoins going crazy, weird meme coins going crazy. Ski Mask Dog up 102%. Safe Moon. Safe Moon is a coin from 2021 that got totally annihilated because of fraud. Their whole thing was that you get taxed 10% if you send coins. Like if you transact, literally, you get taxed 10% to incentivize holding. So it didn't work at all. And like 5% would go to the treasury, 5% was distributed amongst holders for people that were transacting. And of course, the treasury, they were spending it on cars, girls, houses, and it just went straight down. And it's pumping today, up 75%, but the volume is only 90,000, so it means nothing. But the bull market's here. I mean, it's been here, but things are just double-digit pumping. Tron up 62%. I'm sorry if you hold Tron, but Tron is absolute trash, and it's ranked the number 11. And it's trash because it was a 2017 coin, and it just copied Ethereum. They literally copied their white paper, and it was just a Chinese copy. It's trash Tron, trashy Tron, and their CEO Justin Sun is like the cringest person ever. But whatever. That's crypto for you. Stuff that makes no sense just pumps to the moon. All right, yeah. So market's green today. It's good to see. Let's get into the news. Got all sorts of juicy stuff for you. Microsoft gonna vote on buying Bitcoin this week or next week, December 10th, I believe. You got Bitcoin ETFs adding tons of money. Inflows are going. There's hundreds of millions of inflows. We got the kimchi premium back in South Korea, which means it's just the arbitrage in price between South Korean exchanges and the rest of the world's exchanges, which you can actually make a lot of money on. And then we got some altcoin stuff towards the end, and I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin mining and just running some numbers for fun. The cost of hardware, the cost of electricity, all of that stuff, just for fun, in case anybody was interested in mining, just to make you aware of the costs associated with it and the profits that what you can make. And I mean, I'll just say this: Bitcoin miner prices have shot up just this week. I mean, I was just looking at how much a miner costs, and it was like $5,000 when I looked last week to it's like $15,000. They're sold out now. So that's another indicator that we are in a serious bull market, is the cost of mining hardware going up a lot. That's 3 times, and they're sold out now in the past week. So we're here, folks. Strap in, and let's get into it. So this first story I got for you today: Microsoft's Bitcoin dilemma: ride $5 trillion Bitcoin wave or avoid risk. Microsoft's board of shareholders, whatever you want to call them, the people that make the decisions about all the money they got, are going to vote on whether or not they should add Bitcoin to their reserves. And on December 10th, will mark a key date for Microsoft and the Bitcoin community, because the tech giant's shareholders will vote on whether to add Bitcoin to its balance sheet. I mean, if this happened, that would be so huge, because that would kickstart the big tech companies to start doing this. Amazon, Facebook, all the rest, Netflix, those big guys will all start considering it, even though, when Tesla did it in 2021, that wasn't enough, because everyone hates Elon Musk for who knows why, but they still hold their Bitcoin, and that wasn't enough apparently, but this is how it starts. Tesla does it, and MicroStrategy was the first one to do it. And there's so many other companies that hold Bitcoin. They're just smaller, and they don't. I guess they do make it public, but it just doesn't really hit like a Microsoft buying Bitcoin would. And that would just be so huge if they did it. To be honest, to be realistic, I don't think they will. I would be surprised if they did make this move. The reason being because it outlines it in this. It kind of walks you through the logic. They're more of a conservative company, they say, which really changed the perception of Microsoft. And who knows what would happen to the stock price. I think in the end it would be positive for the stock price, but at the same time, it would really change public perception of the company. Probably not for the better, because people still have in their heads that Bitcoin is drug dealer, terrorist financing, world destroying, electricity sucking, environment destroying money, even though none of those things are true. The amount of illicit transactions that flow through Bitcoin is like less than 1%. But anyways, people still think it. And Michael Saylor actually was allowed to pitch to them for 3 minutes. They allowed him to talk for 3 minutes, and he went through 44 slides as to why they should buy Bitcoin. And he said they could add $5 trillion. Michael Saylor said they could add $5 trillion to its current value of about $3.19 trillion. He'd argued that Microsoft should invest $100 billion annually in Bitcoin, asserting it makes more sense to buy Bitcoin than to buy back your own stock or hold bonds. And I don't know, 3 minutes, that's all they let him talk for. Like, come on, really? Like, that's just like annoying, but whatever. And a quote here from Nick Cowan, the CEO of fintech firm Valerum, told Cointelegraph that influencing Microsoft's board or shareholders would require more than just Saylor's endorsement. He said the decision will likely hinge on internal evaluations of risk, strategy, alignment, and long-term vision rather than external lobbying. For those of you that don't know, Michael Saylor is the CEO of MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy was the first publicly traded company to buy Bitcoin, and he's been buying Bitcoin like a banshee, like a fiend. They own like 400,000 Bitcoin. But anyways, yeah, it's going to take more than Saylor. But the fact that they're just voting on it, that's massive in and of itself. The fact that they're sitting down and actually going to vote on this, that's huge. And this is how it starts. And maybe Microsoft won't be the first one, but you're almost forced over time to have to buy Bitcoin because, as explained later in this, all these, them just holding cash, it just loses value because of inflation. And it says here, Bitcoin is becoming the modern day savings account right in front of our eyes, with individuals and institutions parking long-term capital in the asset instead of leaving in US dollars or treasury bills that no longer outperform inflation. Buying some Bitcoin as a diversification strategy is a good idea for public companies, as inflation does slowly erode the value of cash over time. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And maybe we'll see inflation get tamed over the next couple years. Who knows? But nonetheless, I mean, now that the incoming administration is so pro-crypto and the regulatory landscape is heavily in favor of crypto now, and all this Bitcoin reserve stuff and all these other countries wanting to get in, the bullishness is almost too much if you're paying attention. And apparently Microsoft has about $80 billion of cash on hand, and they could throw a bill or two at it. Their number one concern, though, is public perception. And they don't want that to be tainted. Says here, Microsoft has always been known as a more conservative tech company with consistent dividend returns. And says here, despite Bitcoin's growing acceptance is associated with speculative trading, money laundering, and environmental concerns could lead to reputational risks. See, people still just have this idea that Bitcoin's drug dealer, money laundering, terrorist financing, environment destroying money, and that public perception is like huge. It's pretty much everything. And it says Microsoft's reputation is highly regarded as a solid and trustworthy tech company. Buying Bitcoin would just make it so untrustworthy and be horrible. It's just ridiculous. But he weighs the pros and cons in this article. But and he says incorporating Bitcoin into its holdings could diversify Microsoft's asset, reducing dependency on fiat currencies and traditional financial instruments, and that it's a compelling hedge against inflation because of its finite supply. So, I mean, his logic is logical, weighing the pros and cons, but what it really does come down to is the public perception, and therefore I don't think they will vote in favor of a Bitcoin treasury or reserve to add to their reserves. And also says here, holding Bitcoin ties up liquidity that could otherwise be allocated to strategic acquisitions, research and development, or other initiatives more closely aligned with Microsoft's core business objectives. So they're going to vote no. So if they do vote yes, it'll be a nice surprise, but I highly doubt it. But like I said earlier, that the fact that they're even voting on this that's huge. That's bullish in and of itself. Like, do you think they'd be voting on this if we were in a bear market? No. The signs that we're in a heavy bull market are so, the writing's on the wall. It's like yelling in your face. Like, another story related to that. Meanwhile, Microsoft's strategy adds another 15,400 Bitcoin for 1.5 billion as Saylor pitches Bitcoin to Microsoft. Yeah. So, oh man. Now MicroStrategy holds 402,100 tokens. 400,200 Bitcoin. That's a lot of Bitcoin, man. That's a lot of Bitcoin. They hold 2%, 1.9% of the 21 million Bitcoin. That's a lot of Bitcoin, man. A lot of Bitcoin. But I doubt Microsoft will do it. We'll see. Can MicroStrategy convince Microsoft to buy Bitcoin? Maybe they're too soft to do it. All right. Enough. Sorry about that. That was horrible. Yeah. Crazy stuff. Like I said, the news is just wild. The fact that they're just voting on that is insane. But anyways, let's move on. Gotta keep it moving. Next story is U.S. government's potential Bitcoin acquisition could ignite global crypto adoption. Yes, it could. And it will. If this does actually become a real thing. And the fact, and just even if none of these come to fruition, the fact that they're being talked about and even considered is massive. And I'm of the belief that many of these things will come to fruition. Maybe Microsoft won't buy Bitcoin, but I think the whole reserve in the U.S. will become a thing. Plans of acquiring 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years for the U.S. It's huge. 200,000 Bitcoin a year. It says here, this guy from XBTO, not sure what that is, but I guess he knows some Bitcoin stuff. It's not just about the U.S. government buying, it's about how other governments, institutions, and sovereign wealth funds respond. Do you want to have 0 Bitcoin when the U.S. decides to hold 1 million? Yeah, that's hit the nail right on the head. You're going to see sovereign wealth funds, retail investors, and corporations moving into Bitcoin once the U.S. has a strategic fund. It's a green light for everyone to buy. I think we'll see big corporations putting Bitcoin on their balance sheets, driving massive demand. Yes, we will. I don't know why they need to wait for the U.S. It'll be too late. Well, not too late, but get in before they do that. That's how you make the real money. And I understand how many, they're not going to do these massive Bitcoin buys until it's an actual secure, well-established asset. They're not going to buy something sub 1 trillion market cap. They're going to buy it when it's 2-3 trillion, more established, more secure, because they're playing with hundreds of billions of dollars, tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars. You don't want to take an L on that. But when you throw 1% of 100 billion in, that's $1 billion. Woo! That's some serious returns there, even if the price goes up 1%. That's a nice little return you got there. 10 mil off of 1%, but to them that's, what am I going to do with $10 million? Buy another Bugatti? Yeah, I already have 3. I don't need another. So yeah, I mean, if you ask me when this happens, when the U.S. starts acquiring more Bitcoin and this strategic reserve asset move happens, all of a sudden everyone else will want some. I want it now. I want the Bitcoin. So, I mean, that'll just kick off so much buying, so much demand, and whenever demand goes up and supply diminishes, what do you think happens to the number? It go up. Number go up technology activated. So yeah, when this happens, not if, when the US government starts acquiring Bitcoin, it will spark massive global FOMO. I mean, Brazil is already in talks of doing it. So many other countries are discussing it. Maybe they haven't made it public. Things like Baton mining Bitcoin quietly for the past couple years, and now they have like 13,000 Bitcoin, over $1 billion worth, and they didn't announce it. They're just over there just doing it quietly because that's just how they do things over there, which is smart if you ask me. Just keeping quiet about it so that it doesn't affect the price, but you can't keep that stuff hush hush for very long. All right. Next story here. Bitcoin ETFs add $676 million in one day as holdings approach Satoshis. Satoshi holds apparently 104. BlackRock's. Yeah, it's approaching the amount that are in the Satoshi wallets, apparently. And this is just one dimension of all the buying that's going on. And you might be asking yourself, well, why isn't the price $1 million yet? There are selling pressures, very intense selling pressures at play here. The big dogs wanting to short the market, taking out leverage positions, wanting to short, and calling all their friends, being like, sell your Bitcoin, pushes down the price. They make a ton of money on their short. That stuff goes on, and that's a very heavy incentive to sell when you got all that money to slosh around and you play the markets like that. So that's at play. Long-term holders are seeing these increases in price. They're like, holy crap, I'm going to sell 5,000 Bitcoin here. They've been holding since sub 1,000 or whatever. They're going to liquidate some. Same with miners. There's always constant selling pressure there because they got to make money. They got to pay their electric bills. So they're selling Bitcoin. So there are sell pressures out there. But you can't hold this back forever. And the fact that Bitcoin is holding these levels at $95,000 and it's so annoyingly close to 100 grand, looks like it's going to make another run for it today. But it just, the fact that it's holding these levels is so strong. It's such an indicator of how strong the market is. It's not just, because I remember in past years, it would go up a ton, go up 20-30%, and then it would just drop back down 20%. It just wasn't, the strength just wasn't there. The strength now is just, it's palpable. It says here, Bitcoin ETFs are on a tear right now with a record $7.6 billion in monthly net flows across November. founder of Obchekevich Research, Alex Obchekevich, told Decrypt that the significant surge in investments to the recent victory of Donald Trump in the Republican Party. He argued that Trump's position is as pro-crypto as possible, increasing market confidence and attracting institutional investors. The growth was also greatly influenced by the approval of funds by the regulator, which freed investors' hands to interact with Bitcoin ETFs in a regulated environment. Yeah, I mean, this administration coming in is, it's a crypto bro's dream. Like, the fact that Trump even went and spoke at Bitcoin 2024 was just so cool. He just went there and was like, we're going to do a Bitcoin reserve, the best we've ever seen. No one's ever seen it before. It's going to be the best reserve ever, the most amazing best reserve ever. You know, Trump. Oh, too funny. And you know he'll do it, and they will. And there's so many pro-crypto people in his administration. Cynthia Lummis is a senator from Wyoming. Maybe she doesn't have like a cabinet seat, but she's so pro-crypto. She's proposed the U.S. to sell their gold to buy Bitcoin, which would just be insane. She's like, we already have the money. Let's just buy it with the gold. That would be ridiculous. If that happened, oh my gosh. Woo! $1 million, you're cheap. You look cheap. And this is like where the $1 million Bitcoins come from. I mean, when this flood of money, when it is happening now, this flood of money coming into the market. A lot of these things take time though, because the board of directors, they got to vote and do this and that. And then, you know, they can't just be like, all right, buy $10 billion of Bitcoin, press the button, buy it. Where are you going to get it? Who are you going to buy it from? A lot of these massive buys happen what's called over the counter. So they don't affect the price. So you literally just buy the Bitcoin at one set price. So let's say Bitcoin's at 95,000. Someone's got $10 billion in Bitcoin. They go, all right, here you go. Give me the cash. I give you the Bitcoin. Done. It doesn't affect the order book. So like instead of buying on an exchange where there's something called slippage, meaning that you would buy, if you wanted to buy $10 billion of Bitcoin on an exchange, you wouldn't buy it at one price. You would buy it. It would range from like 95,000 up to like 100. It would cause the price to shoot up on that exchange. And so, you know, it would be like a ladder. So there'd be people selling Bitcoin, you know, like 20 Bitcoin at like 95,000. Someone selling it at 96,000, 97, 98. And it would you just buy up all the liquidity all the way up to who knows what price, 110, 120,000. So you would average in at like, you know, 110. Instead, you can just buy it one transaction. So that's how over-the-counter trading works. And that's what these big dogs do. And it doesn't affect the price. But you can't do that forever. Bitcoin is finite in supply. And so you're going to have to buy it off of exchanges at some point whenever there's no big dogs left, really, for you to get your 10 billion. You know, maybe you have to buy $1 billion on an exchange. And then you gotta, you know, you buy 4 billion over the counter and then $1 billion. It just can't last forever. So that's also going on, which doesn't affect the price. Like I said, the over the counter buys, it just moves at one price. Order books aren't affected. So that's also a reason why the price doesn't skyrocket. And another thing to think about is that whenever something goes up too fast, that's actually not good. These cool-off periods are very healthy. It resets indicators. It just lets people cool off and absorb the current price. Because now in everyone's heads, $90,000 is like cheap. It's like, what if Bitcoin crashes to $90,000? 85. Could you imagine if Bitcoin went to $85,000? Oh, 80,000. 3 weeks ago, an $80,000 Bitcoin was like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Whatever, 3-4 weeks ago. So now that that's set in for like everyone, people are like, they rationalize, they're like, okay, $90,000, I'm going to put buy orders in there now because that's like low now. And this is how it goes. Once we cross that $100,000 mark, everything changes. But these cool-offs, so they're healthy. I am glad this happens. And the strength is there because Bitcoin isn't just dropping to like 80,000. It's holding these levels at 95K. And it's very healthy. And it's organic too. It's just a nice, slow upward trajectory. Not slow, but I mean, we just went from 70 to 100,000 basically. Annoyingly close. It was like 99,700. There's huge sell walls at 100 grand. Like, people, it's just a psychological barrier. It's just how humans work. We work in tens. You know, $100,000. Big dogs are going to sell, short the market, make a ton of money off the price going down. La di da di da. That's how it goes. But yeah, Bitcoin ETFs add a ton of money. They're buying. This is just one dimension. We got all these companies buying. We got the ETFs. We got countries. We got this. $1 million Bitcoin is low. Low. Yes. Okay. Okie dokie. On the topic of Bitcoin ETFs, this next story: how Bitcoin ETF options unlock new strategies for retail and institutional investors. Basically, what this article goes over is how the ETFs were just like the first legitimizing, I guess you could say, of Bitcoin in the traditional financial world. And it's going to mature, and there's going to be more financial products as time goes on. And he says here, this guy, Rob Nelson, and Gav Blacksberg go over the implications of these financial tools. And he highlights the dual appeal of ETF options, saying it's significant for both retail and institutions. Institutions are the main traders of options, using them for leverage and hedging. Options being longing and shorting the market. You can make money if it goes up or down, and you can leverage your position. Anyways, getting back to this. Institutions are the main traders of options, using them for leverage and hedging. Retail traders with large liquidity will also find them attractive, especially for leveraging long-term positions like Bitcoin. He acknowledged, however, that institutions like hedge funds and large trading firms are likely to be the primary users. So, and he says here, raise the potential for big tech companies such as Microsoft to begin integrating Bitcoin into their portfolios. So maybe they don't actually buy real Bitcoin, they just do these option trading, and it allows them to diversify their portfolios. He says here, I could see even really big corporations moving 1 or 2% of their cash holdings into options. It's starting to make fiscal sense. It's not a huge gamble when treasury reserves aren't worth much. So yeah, he's thinking that these Bitcoin ETFs are just the beginning, and that it's going to evolve into other financial products like these options and leveraging, and how so many there's already a lot of these things on Wall Street, pretty much gambling. He also says here, you're going to start to see a bunch of covered call ETFs and yield producing Bitcoin funds. This is just the beginning of so many new financial products. He concludes, signaling a dynamic shift in the market's future. So another quote here is interesting. Thousands of managers with Bitcoin on their balance sheet would likely put a hedge on that position. Options for it. So it's just he thinks it's gonna mature into these other financial products, and I totally agree. And it just allows more ways for you to gamble. That's all Wall Street is a bunch of degenerate gamblers in the casino. Let's be totally real. Using other people's money to make some bets, leveraged bets. Hopefully it goes up and everything doesn't crash, and when you're over levered and it does crash, you're screwed. But good thing we used other people's money and we don't get put in jail. You do. And you have to pay for it. So thanks. Bye-bye. It's so messed up how it works. But anyways, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more financial products come out from these Bitcoin ETFs. And it'll be interesting to see how this evolves. All right, next story here. The kimchi premium is back. The kimchi premium being the arbitrage on South Korean exchanges between the rest of the world, meaning that there's a price difference between the price of whatever, it could be Bitcoin, XRP, anything, and the price of other exchanges, which creates a huge money-making opportunity. But you really got to be on your toes and watch these things, because it just happened this past week. It says here, Bitcoin and XRP plunged on South Korean crypto exchanges yesterday after President Yoon Suk Yeol declared martial law, creating arbitrage opportunities for savvy investors. And this happened, it only lasted a few hours, the martial law, but the panic selling ensued because of this, and Bitcoin's value went down 33% on a South Korean exchange, down to $61,200. So if you scooped that up, you'd have instantly made a 33% profit, because you could take that Bitcoin you just got and sell it on a US exchange, anywhere else in the world where Bitcoin's at $95,000 still. And it's just a blip. It happens, but people can make a lot of money on these opportunities. And it's a real money. People do it. People make a lot of money. Just a real quick trade. Boom, boom. In and out real quick. But who knows? How you got to just watch your screen and wait for these opportunities and move the crypto onto the exchange, and you need a lot of money to make. But even if you had, $10,000 here, you make $3,000 if you really caught that candle down. It's just catching those moves, but nonetheless, it has a term for it, the kimchi premium. So the arbitrage opportunities on South Korean exchanges is pretty. It happened in 2017 too. It's not a new term. And even when things stabilize a bit more, there's still some opportunities. It said here, whenever this article was written, when was it? What was the date? Oh, today, December 4th. Says, as of 2:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Bitcoin was at 95,735 on Upbit, a Korean exchange, and on other exchanges, it's 96,567. That may not seem like a huge difference, but if you have a lot of money, you can capitalize on that arbitrage opportunity, and sometimes that gap grows. So the kimchi premium's back, another signal that we are in a serious bull market, and that just be wary, because people say this, that's the most dangerous thing to say in investing is, it's different this time. This time's different. It is different. Come on. We have a pro-crypto administration. We got countries wanting to have Bitcoin reserves. We got Bhutan mining Bitcoin and this and that and the other thing. Microsoft talking about voting for buying Bitcoin. We got the kimchi premium. It is different. Well, kimchi premium isn't any different, but it is different this time. I think the bull market will last a lot longer than in past bull markets. It's so much different. None of this stuff was here in 2021, in 2017. None of it. This is literally, these were all pipe dreams back in 2021 even. The whole countries buying it, companies buying it. If you would have told me what was happening today in 2021, I would have drained. I'll put everything in crypto now. All right, next story here. Bitcoin exchange balances dropped sharply, which is always an indicator that the selling pressure will diminish. People want to hold on to their precious Bitcoin. They don't want to sell it. They're taking it off exchanges, putting it in cold storage, and is typically indicative of long-term holding behavior. And says here that data shows that Bitcoin's total balance across all exchanges has fallen approximately 2.8 million, down from over 3.2 million earlier this year. That is quite a significant drop. And that there was a huge drop rate in the beginning of November. Really from like July, August, that's where they're seeing around 3.1 million, and it just has been going down. And then right in the beginning of November, it took a dive from 3 million down to almost 2.8 million Bitcoin flowing off exchanges. which is indicative of long-term holding behavior, which is great. It says, complementing this trend, the supply of Bitcoin outside of exchanges has risen steadily, surpassing 18.18 million Bitcoin, which is, if it's not on exchanges, you're not going to sell it. And that's a good sign. That's a great sign. So yeah, balances on exchanges is reducing significantly, which is a great sign for long-term holding behavior, as well as reducing sell pressure. Another sign that we're in a bull market. You just got to look at the signs, look around you, be aware, pay attention, and you can see that. And just looking at the charts, the double-digit gains in so many different coins. Kind of going off that, Tron is up like 70% today. And like as I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, I'm sorry if you hold Tron, but Tron is absolute trash. I will always think that because they copied Ethereum. It was a Chinese copy of Ethereum. They literally copied the white paper, and they didn't change like a word. It was so ridiculous. I remember when it came out in 2017, it was like, what is this? Are you serious? This isn't going to last. It was so cringe. And then to throw it on top of it, Justin Sun, the guy behind Tron, he did so many cringe things. Like, he literally spent $4 million to go to lunch with Warren Buffett, and then like said there's a partnership. He would do stuff like this. He'd be like, Tron has a partnership with Warren Buffett. It's like, no, dude, you spent $4 million to go to lunch with Warren Buffett. It was just stuff like that. Another one, he said that there was a partnership with Alibaba back in like 2017, 2018, when in reality, all that it was that Justin Sun went to the same like university or something as Jack Ma, the CEO of Alibaba, and then not even at the same time, just went to like the same school as him or something. And he's like, Alibaba has a partnership with Tron. They had to come out and say, no, we don't. It's just, Justin Sun is so cringe. And Tron is trash. Like, I mean, it works as a blockchain, but the facts are that it's just a copy, and then it's so cringe, and that we don't need it. There are so many other high quality blockchains out there other than this cringe stuff. But what are you going to do? If it makes you money, buy it. And if you like Tron, all the power to you. I'm happy if you made money. I celebrate winning. And there's no hate here. It's just facts are facts, though. Tron has cringe beginnings. It was just so scammy. It just felt so scammy from the beginning. And it still is, if you ask me. But hey, it's performing. Up 70% on the day, 60, 70%. Just surging in value. And good for you if you're making money. But this is another indicator that we're in a bull market. And it says here, Tron jumped 76% to over 40 cents, reaching a $34 billion market cap. With trading volumes exploding from 2 billion to over 16 billion. Tron memes, this and that. It's just it's just amazing how these things make it. Like, I thought it was gonna go to zero obscurity, but it's just so cringe. But whatever. Good if you're making money. I'm happy if you're making money. If you're a Tron holder, if you're a Tron lover, good for you. You go. Another altcoin that's been pumping is Hedera Hashgraph, HBAR, and it's been going crazy. It rallied 9x over the past month. The pump has been from massive market interest. Yeah, no crap. Another apparent fact is that, it's just a rumor. Things that can make these prices go up is crazy. That Donald Trump's going to pick Brian Brooks, a Hedera board member, as SEC chair. Just a rumor. That's what can pump these things. I mean, it's a good project, but if that's really what's all behind the pump, that's crypto for you, baby. But another indicator that we're in a bull market. Hedera is going crazy, up 126% over the past week. Over the past 30 days, 700%. Yeah, if you hold H bar, good for you. I'm happy for you. Next story here: Grayscale files with SEC for a spot Solana ETF. Man, we're in a bull market. And that it will happen eventually. I think we'll see other altcoin ETFs, Cardano, Solana, all those things. I mean, we already have Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they'll get approved very quickly, I think, especially with this pro crypto SEC and administration. So yeah, hopefully we see a Solana ETF here soon. Another indicator that we're in a bull market. Enron relaunched, headed by pranksters, hints at offering a crypto token. Enron is back from the dead 23 years later after a massive fraud and bankruptcy, with pranksters who have seemingly taken over the brand hinting at launching a token. Watch out there, folks. These things are going to be going, scams are going to be going crazy. They run rampant in a bull market. And the thing about it is this: if they do release a token, it will probably pump like crazy. It probably will. And it's just such a troll. Yeah, and they probably will create a coin, and people will buy it. It'll probably surge like crazy, and then it'll probably crash. But it probably won't. That's the whole thing. Crypto's like that. It'll probably surge like the top 10, pass like Dogecoin. Enron's number 5. Like, that's how crazy things get in bull markets. I would not doubt it. So yeah, Enron's back. Back with a vengeance, baby. All right. That does it for the news portion of this episode. Let's get into some juicy Bitcoin mining stuff just for fun. I just like to do this for fun. I mean, I'm not going to get into mining, but just for those of you who've ever considered it, maybe I should get into Bitcoin mining. It's a little, I mean, unless you have a large amount of money to throw at it, you'd have to invest like at least like $150,000 for it to make sense. So you need a good amount of money, and the cost of miners has just shot up from like, and they're sold out, and like I'm on Bitmain's website, which is a big producer of Bitcoin miners, and I was just looking at this last week, and it went from $5,000 a unit to $14,000, and it's sold out now. And they're water cooled Bitcoin miners. Or wait, that might not be the one I was looking at. I think this was the one I was looking at. It went from 5,000 to 7,000. This one was like 11,000. So they've increased in price significantly. And they're not shipping again till Q1 2025. Nonetheless, yeah. These water cooled Bitcoin miners are the wave now. And the hash rate of them, the efficiency of them has increased significantly, as things always do. And if you run the numbers here, it's pretty interesting. So let's just say you were to buy one, 319. Power consumption is, there's this website where you can run numbers on how profitable Bitcoin mining would be if you were to theoretically get into it. 4785, and you can plug in all the numbers, power consumption in watts, your electricity costs, which is a huge factor in how profitable you'll be. Let's just do the average, which is like 20 cents per kilowatt hour. Pool mining fees, 5%. Hardware cost, 7,000, 7,500. And you just run the numbers. If you had one of these miners, if you were running one of these miners in your house, you would lose $5 a day at the cost of 20 cents per kilowatt hour. That's what it really comes down to, is the cost of electricity. If you can get cheap electricity, you can make a ton of money. You really can. That's what it comes down to, is the cost of energy. I mean, if you reduce this to 5 cents per kilowatt hour, you jump up to $12 a day off of one miner that costs $7,000, which would take you quite a long time. See, this is why you need big money if you're going to mine Bitcoin. There are other coins to mine too, but if you were going to mine Bitcoin, you would need big money. So, I mean, even if you had, let's say you had 100 of these. So, 31,900. 47,000. 478. Doing some calculations here. Cost, advanced. So even if you had 100, these are just theoretical numbers, $1,200 per day of mining revenue at a cost of 5 cents per kilowatt hour. But the investment would be a lot of money, the upfront investment to buy 100 of those. And maybe if you bought in bulk, they'd give you a price break. But, the initial investment would be $750,000 just on the hardware. Nonetheless, just to take into consideration the space required, where you're going to do it, running all that electricity, the networking, the wiring, there's so many considerations. I mean, getting into Bitcoin mining, that's intense. And it would take a decent amount of time for you to get a return on your investment. But you need big bucks if you want to for it to make sense in Bitcoin mining. But if you got to spend, go for it. But you would need a lot of money to make a 0.019 Bitcoin mine per day. Yeah. So, costs a lot of money to get into it. But the money's there. The amount of Bitcoin mined a day, $43,235,000. That's what these miners are competing for. They're like, I want that. I want a piece of that. Give me a piece of that Bitcoin. That $43,200,000 pot. That's how much there is, 3.13 Bitcoin per block. And if you were to mine, you would mine in a pool, meaning you pull together your computing power. Because if you mine individually, the chances of you mining a block are very small, unless you have a ton of mining power. But that was just some numbers I wanted to run and just talk a little bit about Bitcoin mining and the feasibility of it, realistically speaking. And you'd have to factor in all these miscellaneous costs, things going wrong, this and that, like they always do when you do something. Everything goes wrong. You got to spend like more than you thought. And man, all the respect to anybody that gets into Bitcoin mining, because that is quite the undertaking. I mean, I would rather just run a Bitcoin full node, which is just running a laptop. You download the software, let it run. You don't make money, but it contributes to the decentralization of Bitcoin. I'm going to make a video on that, how to set up a Bitcoin full node, because I'm going to set one up here myself, because I love Bitcoin and I want to contribute to its decentralization. And all it requires is you running your laptop at least 6 hours a day. So you don't even have to run it 24 hours. Ideally 24, but a lot of people can't or don't want to because of the cost of the electricity, this and that, the bandwidth requirements. But there's a link down in the description if you want to look into running a Bitcoin full node. It's on the website, their website, bitcoin.org. It explains everything, and it's pretty simple. You don't really have to be that. You just download some software, make sure the settings are right, and let your laptop run. It's simple, and you contribute to the decentralization of Bitcoin. But all right, folks, that does it for this episode. Really appreciate everyone for listening. Give me a like, give me a subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Leave a comment. Give me a dislike. Say it sucked. Whatever you want to do. I appreciate all feedback and any comments, whatever. Just really appreciate anybody taking the time to listen to this. And until next time, I bid you farewell on your cryptocurrency journey.